Okay, so imagine this. You die, only to wake up inside a story you've actually read before. And the person sleeping in the tiny cradle right next to you? Yeah, he's destined to become the story's biggest, baddest villain. Let's get into this story about an orphan's wild second chance and a single promise that might just be powerful enough to rewrite destiny itself. So first we meet Han Seo-yeon. She's an orphan who learned a really tough lesson, and she learned it early. Never, ever get attached. In her world, connections were always temporary, and getting attached, well, that just led to getting hurt. But even though she tried so hard to keep everyone at a distance, she had this one secret wish. It wasn't for parents she couldn't even remember. It was for something that felt more real, more possible. She just wanted a sibling. And this wish for a different kind of family, it wasn't just some passing thought. It totally defined her, shaping this deep, profound loneliness she carried with her every single day. And here's what's really interesting about the kind of sibling she pictured. She wasn't dreaming of a protector or someone to act like a parent. No, she wanted an equal, someone to walk the same path with, to face the world with, someone to just be there. But it was a wish that never came true. Han Soyeon's life was quiet and pretty unremarkable, and honestly, so was her death. There were no dramatic goodbyes, no one holding her hands. She just faded away into darkness, completely alone. But, of course, the darkness wasn't the end, not even close. It was actually a brand new start, a really sudden and frankly bewildering awakening into a world she never could have dreamed up. So what happened? And then? She woke up, and immediately, nothing made sense. The bed was way too soft, the room was ridiculously grand, like something out of a fairy tale, and her body, it felt so small and weak. It wasn't her own. And then it hits her, a flood of memories that don't belong to her. She's not Han Soyeon anymore. She is now Alira Noctis, the second princess of this huge, powerful empire. The catch? In this world, magic is everything. And Alira, well, she was born without any. They call her normal, and trust me, it is not a compliment. Now, you might be thinking, princess? Awesome, life of luxury, here we come. But for Alira, her new life, it was just as lonely as her old one, almost eerily so. It's kind of ironic, right? She gets this fancy new title, but nothing has really changed. To everyone in the palace, she's useless without magic, which means she's basically invisible. She's just an orphan living in a castle. The whole palace is draped in grief for the Empress, Illyra's mother, who died giving birth. But in all that mourning, did anyone come check on the 3-year-old princess? Nope. She was left completely and totally on her own. But she wasn't actually alone in that huge room. Her gaze shifts, and she sees something that's about to give her a purpose she never, ever saw coming. Right there, next to her bed, is a cradle. And inside, wrapped up in dark silk, is a tiny newborn baby. This is her new brother, Prince Kyle Noctis. And this is the moment. This is when it all just clicks into place. A memory from her past life, from that novel she read, comes rushing back. She knows this story. She knows who this child is. This tiny, fragile baby is destined to grow into a terrifying villain, the man who will one day burn the entire empire to the ground. And she knows why. He's the one everyone blames for their mother's death. Right from the moment he was born, he was set on a path of rejection and loneliness, the exact kind of things that can twist a person into a monster. So as she's looking at this forsaken prince, something inside Alira just shifts. This isn't some character in a book anymore. This is real. This is her brother. And in that one moment, she makes a choice. She climbs out of her big bed and goes over to the cradle. And as she looks down at him, the baby stirs and his tiny little fingers reach out, just searching for something to hold on to. Without even thinking, she offers her hand, and his fingers wrap right around hers. And in that one simple touch, she doesn't see a future villain. She just sees a lonely kid, just like her. And that's when she makes a promise, saying the words out loud. This simple vow, it becomes the anchor for her entire new life. It's a promise to him, and it's a promise to the lonely little girl she used to be. Her resolve is just crystal clear. She gets their situation perfectly. The Empire has already forgotten about her, and it's about to do the exact same thing to him. So she decides, right then and there, that she is not going to let him walk that lonely path by himself. She will be the person for him that she always wished she had. And just like that, Alira, the forgotten, powerless princess, finally has a reason to live. Her purpose isn't just to survive anymore, it's to protect the brother that the rest of the world has already decided to hate. Her one and only brother. So that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The story's fate. It's already written. We know a tragic path of loneliness and destruction is waiting for him. But now, there's a new piece in the puzzle. There's a sister who has sworn to stand by his side no matter what. Can her love, this one promise, actually be enough to change the future?
Chapter 2. The Forgotten Princess. Morning dawned in stillness. No maids entered, and the room remained empty, uninviting, and cold like a throne room. Alira slowly closed her eyes for a moment. All she felt was despair and loneliness. Then she remembered. The Empire, the throne, her new life. Her gaze wandered toward Kale. Kale was still there. Sleeping soundly, his face was gentle, and she could feel the warmth of his breath against her cheek. Alone, a quiet sense of fear filled her heart. Strange and unfamiliar. No one had ever trusted her before. No one had needed her. But now, she pushed herself up, her small body unsteady as her feet touched the cold floor. The chill spread through her, but she ignored it and walked toward the cradle. Kale stirred. His tiny hands reached for her hands. Seeking comfort, Alira hesitated. She was only 3. What could she do? Her eyes found the tray. Nearly reaching for it with her small hands, slowly, she moved toward it and pushed the lid open. Bread, porridge, and water, cold and untouched. She hesitated for a moment, took a sip, and returned it with no hesitation. Kale was still crying, waiting for her. The memories of their relationship were too hard to bear. Alira watched, feeling some guilt for causing him harm. Then she realized what she had to do. She needed to protect him, no matter how difficult it was. She stepped between the maids and the cradle. Her eyes focused on Kale as they still stared blankly at her. The maids exchanged looks, annoyed and hesitant, still. Their hands remained rough. Alira watched, smiling at her own courage. No one would save them if Kale was to survive. If he was to become something else than a monster, it would start with her. Her hands clenched, determined come fine. If the Empire ignored them, she would stop waiting. She would act. Even as a forgotten princess, even at 3 years old, she would protect him, no matter the cost.
Chapter 3. A Place in the Palace. The palace was too vast for Alira and Kale, children who did not belong. They spent days in silence, apart from tutors and servants. Meals were cold, ignored by Alira. Yet she endured. For Kyle, his cries grew stronger, needing warmth, food, and comfort things the palace refused. So Alira taught him. She watched the servants' schedules, staying awake. She softened bread with water and soothed him with trembling hands. It was not enough, but it kept Kale alive. Each time Kale calmed in her arms, something new grew within her. Purpose. One quiet night, she stumbled upon his tiny fingers wrapped around hers. "You've got a hard head," she whispered. Kale looked up at her. Alive. That was enough. Kale's presence alone kept the Emperor awake. The attendants lowered their heads. The Emperor stared down at her. "You," he said without affection or warmth, only observation. "This child is responsible for the Empress's death." The words sounded cold and final. Alira's fingers tightened. She stepped forward, placing herself between Kale and the Emperor. The attendants lowered their heads. The Emperor looked down at her. "You," he said without kindness or warmth, only observation. "What's your name?" Alira's heart pounded. She was standing before the most powerful man in the Empire, defying him. She had no choice but to kneel, disappear, but behind her, Kale shifted. Small, defenseless, alone. just like she had once been. His hands clenched. "No," she said in a weak voice. Still soft. Still shaking, but unbroken. The room filled with silence. Then the Emperor smiled. No kindness or warmth. Something far more dangerous. Interesting. The words stayed. Alira understood. She had done more than protect Kale. She had stepped onto the stage of the Empire. From this moment on, she would no longer be invisible. Be ready for the next chapter.